It's in that brown container, right there. It's in the back.
Okay,
There we go.
can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. So we were gonna wait for Gary. He's not here yet, but I think since it's 6:01, I'll just kick things off. We do have, well, I'll just say first, online, we do have Linda Fenoff. We have Carol Osterink. We have Ronald Kopnicki.
My apologies.
No worries, come on in. Just kicking this off here. Gary is here.
Are we
We
online?
are on live at 6:01, no worries. And I'm Justin Weaver, 88 coordinator.
I'm David Marston. I'm on this board. And I'm Derek Fernhagen on this board. And the chairperson of the board. Sorry that I'm late.
It happens. Take it away, Gary.
Well, I call to order this meeting of the Public Works Board on September 28th at 6 p.m. And with that said, we've identified who's in attendance. Is there anybody else on the board that's in via Zoom?
No,
George?
we have no board members, and I should just make a, unless you want to make a point.
Well, let's
Yeah.
call to order the
Okay.
meeting. Do I have a motion to begin the meeting? Is that-
Yes, second.
Okay, so with that said, could we get an update on where we stand from the ADA coordinator?
Yes, sir. So, Precision Safe Sidewalks has been working diligently on all of the curb ramps. And as of yesterday, they are all complete.
Nice.
Every one that was identified by the DOJ has been complete. Every one that they listed here in their contract with us, that's including the corners, all on Warren, 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, Warren and City Hall Place, which is the corner right by Hudson Hall. 3rd, and South Front Street. We had a question about that because remember, I brought that up and you said, well, isn't that part of the DRI? They spoke with each other, and since it was one little corner that was in that area, Precision Safe Sidewalks just went ahead and did that corner, and that's actually in the Amtrak parking lot. The way it worked is they would complete a curb ramp, give me a call. I would go out there with our state-of-the-art smart level.
I saw you the other morning. I was gonna take a picture, but I was like,
I look very official when I'm carrying that thing around. Okay, we got another board member. Should we,
good morning, good afternoon, good evening, George. Good evening.
George? Just giving an update on the curb ramps, they are all complete. I was just saying that, when they finished each curb ramp, they would give me a call. I would go out with our state-of-the-art, smart level, which is really a top of the line one, even they said was better than theirs. And it was the exact one that we ordered, the city ordered, because that's what the DOJ had when she came down. So there's not gonna be any variation, hopefully, knock on wood.
We're fully calibrated.
Yes, fully calibrated, everything checks out. I took 3 measurements of the running slopes on each corner, and I took 1 cross slope measurement. And a couple, when they would call me, weren't up to snuff. So they would just, we took those measurements and they would fix it. So they are all at this point complete.
And you,
That's great news.
yeah, it is, and it sounds like you did a great job being on top of it.
Thank you.
And that will, when the DOJ puts their attention back on us, show real progress.
Yep, I have been taking pictures each time. I put the pictures into an email. I would label each email exactly which corner that was and send it off with the actual measurements listed in the body of the email as well. So when Elise comes back from her little hiatus, she will have everything at her fingertips in order.
Now, what else is, needed at those intersections? Do we need to be striping?
I don't believe so. All the striping, all the crosswalks looked, I mean, maybe
That
there's some
hasn't been an
touch-ups.
issue.
There hasn't been an issue. It has not been identified by the DOJ.
Okay,
There was a question by someone in the city, there are those metal kind of squares, that have the little bubbles.
yes,
They're kind of, I don't know what the technical name is. I looked it up, but I can't remember.
Theaters or something.
Like little warning,
Yeah, they're someone with a cane.
Yes.
Limited sight, they can
correct,
hit them and feel like, oh yeah,
yes.
I've never seen one use one, but
But they are there, that's an extra, and the ones that don't have them, I checked with our DPW and they have them all on hand. So they can come in and put them all in now, that
is
the,
that ADA compliant?
they are ADA compliant and they are required,
That's what.
Yes, they are required,
Under
yeah.
the compliance.
yes. So any corners that don't have them right now, you'll see some don't. We have them in stock and I believe it will be an eventual plan to put those out there.
And is DPW still planning on tackling that, or do we need to be addressing it as a board
I-
with the SDI?
I think that, we should put it in their ear. I don't know that they're on some sort of time frame to go out there. I think we will direct them at some point. I don't know if that is part of what they do or if that's something that we as a board have to pay
But
for.
they have those,
They have those,
so it sounds like they're prepared,
yeah.
but I don't see it as a priority.
No, what didn't come up in the DOJ's consent.
So,
order,
okay, so that's something that we know needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can just keep that in the back of our minds, but it's already been thought of, so if and when they're like, aha, but you don't have these things, we've already discussed
We do.
it, we have. We have,
We're just waiting for you to, you know, that's squeaky wheel.
that's right.
Okay, cool. And
our,
yes,
okay, so, we did get some news this week that Jason Foster is no longer, with us in the capacity of commissioner. And with that being said, his position here on this board coincided with being commissioner. So I don't know if, as a board, we fill that spot with anyone, or if that spot has to be a commissioner.
it's specified,
Okay,
and, you know, we want to fill it with such a person.
I do know that the mayor has people in mind, for possible candidates to replace Jason. And I think it should be noted that Jason was a wonderful asset to the city, to DPW, and we'll miss him a lot. He was a wealth of information and he worked very hard. So
Agreed.
whatever he's doing now, we wish him well.
Right.
And I don't have a reason. I don't know if there was, I don't think it has to be anything to dwell on.
No,
People
not-
make choices and.
Not our business,
Yeah, that's right.
but yeah, he was you know, it's, not sure how we're going to, you know, replace him, but, you know, we're gonna have to lean on Crawford and Associates that much more.
Correct.
To be more, he was oftentimes the go-between.
Yes,
And so, you know, as board, in fact, I had invited Ryan, it's 5:10, I invited him. He can attend, is he there on Zoom?
Ryan Laux is not.
No, okay. So we're just gonna have to be meeting with him and step in a little bit in terms of, meeting with them and then, well, I think at this point in time, here's my assessment, and let me run it by you correctly. So, you know, the DOJ was, you know, the ones we had to satisfy. And for the time being, it seems to me like with everything being done, we've done a good job. We're
Right.
showing good faith and
Correct.
substantial work.
There's no more major pressure on our
Good.
shoulders. Now we can do the work at our, not at our leisure, but at a steady pace where there's not, somebody looming. I mean,
So we can look at the big picture.
Yeah.
And I sort of alluded, I think that's where Crawford and Sons needs to be now looking. We have the RFP, we have, the contract in place.
I gave you a copy there.
Great. And it's been executed. Did we get send this back to Crawford and Associates?
I believe so. This is all signed and done.
I never got a executed copy. So, I'm cool with that, but we need to send one to Crawford and Associates.
So
we have
I believe,
electronic
I believe Jason has done that already.
He has.
I'm almost certain. I mean, I can double check that.
He hasn't communicated with me. I don't know.
Well, what I'm hopeful is that.
Okay, I'll check with him.
Yeah, that he'll give us all the information and so we can tie up any loose ends. I'm sure that he will, but, yeah, we don't.
Right. Okay, so this is the contract for, TRJ, excavating and contracting, to do the intersection at, Third Street and Cherry Ave, at the youth department. That was a highlighted, point of issue for the DOJ. We got one out and, so we're going from there. I don't know where we stand with the RFP that they were looking to issue for Cherry Alley and Fourth Street.
I don't have that information either.
Okay, so that's a question we're gonna have to look into, with them, and that's okay. And I'm not even sure we need to go into that if we have the DOJ satisfied. What I'd like is a big picture as to how do we move forward in terms of tackling the issues that are on the DOJ's list, but in general, what we need to be doing as a city, right? So that's a point that we're going to need to be addressing with them. I think, we want to start looking long-term and a strategy. Does these small projects that are under $25,000, where we don't have to go, through a lot of more, further legal, requirements, is that the way to proceed? I'd rather a sort of comprehensive plan, that's gonna be scheduled, it's been forecast what we're gonna have to be spending for this. There's no money coming in for another year or two.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
like-
I mean, I think it really was helpful in a way that the DOJ was very precise in what they wanted to see
They
taken
gave
care of. And if
no
we
room for
can
error, yeah.
reproduce that type of perspective for ourselves to get that next chunk of word.
So continue on the path of addressing what the DOJ has pointed out versus stepping back, ignoring what they're saying and say, this is the way we would do it. It's the most efficient, economical way.
No, I think just approaching it with the perspective that we need a holistic picture, but we need chunks that we can discuss, bid and approach, right? In the way that they laid it out, we were able to say, okay, we do all the intersections, we got precision, they covered that. Now I've got Cherry Third, Cherry and Fourth, let's tackle that. And then kind of work at it through that methodology, I guess. Just makes it seem like a little more approachable than
Yeah,
the whole darn city.
yeah, no, I agree. Can you give us an update on, Louise?
Yes.
Even though it's not in our purview. Someone's gonna have to take that role over for Jason, reel me in when, I go beyond what our board perspective is supposed to be.
Is this the work at First and Warren?
Yeah.
It was on my radar, guys. What the hell is going on?
It's a mess, okay, they should have been pouring weeks ago,
Literally.
Yes.
I mean,
We talked about it
seriously.
last month.
Yeah, Yeah, so, I'm sorry.
So, we regularly meet, the mayor, myself, Rob Perry, DPW superintendent. We meet with Creighton Manning, who is kind of like the Crawford and Associates for us. They're overseeing everything, the engineers, I guess they're referred to as. and Louise is the construction team that's actually doing the work. This last meeting we had was on Thursday, September 19th. And these are the minutes from that meeting. Sidewalk removal continued on Front Street. Survey continued on Front Street and other intersections. Hydrants were replaced as work progressed south. Water valves were raised as work progressed south. Sidewalk and curb removal moved across the street to the west side of Front Street. Granite curb was set at Front Street intersections, and then forming for concrete began on the staircase. And then the scope of work for the next 2 weeks, from Thursday, September 19th forward, rebar and concrete placement will begin at Front Street, Warren intersections, and staircase, which is pretty much when I brought up, what about First and Warren? What is taking so long? I don't understand, because each meeting we have, it's gonna happen within the week or in the next 2 weeks. So they were waiting for Keller. Keller is the actual subcontractor that Louise has hired to do the actual pouring of the concrete. They are now mobilized. They've started with the stairs at Cross Street. The initial problem was the radiant heat, which we talked about, that was found at the corner of First and Warren weeks ago. Then the issue came up that they weren't sure. There was discussion about a stamp, basically a design. Hold on, in the concrete. Okay, so there's what they refer to as a flag pattern. And it would be easier for them to pour and get that design in the concrete with a stamp, but they don't want to do a stamp. It requires saw cutting. Now, all that language is outside of my complete understanding, but from our last meeting, they now know exactly the process that they're going to do with the design after they pour it. And now we're being told within the next 2 weeks from that meeting that First and Warren, and I stress the importance of it because it's a highly traveled area. I mean, it's a walkway. And for me as a layperson, I would think that's more important than doing the cross street stairs first, because it's right on our main thoroughfare, but I'm not an engineer. And I'm not an architect, and I'm not.
You're right, and I see, people with their, wheelie, the suitcases, 3s and 4s, coming up and then just going into the
Yeah.
street and they continue on. I see people in wheelchairs.
Yeah,
I mean,
Is it, maybe this is too crass, but is the subcontractor jerking our chain? Cause we're going on 3 months, over 3
I
months.
mean, and it really,
If they weren't ready to lay it, they shouldn't have torn it up.
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
I have lots of opinions, and I hear exactly what you're saying, and I'm being told that this is the life of construction. This is my first foray into a construction world, and
I'm
yeah,
not sure what we as a board can do, but if we could, who should we give Rob a call?
it's the people that need to hear the frustration are hearing it in these meetings that we have.
Okay,
We have weekly meetings with
so
them.
we're not gonna add any,
We're not gonna add anything other than stress and
our little.
irritation.
Maybe the work.
Maybe stress would inspire them to,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
another.
I appreciate the complexity of a municipal project, but they're literally pouring concrete side.
Yeah, and they've been ready for.
Yeah, it's the summer's final.
Right?
And it's not like they're waiting to fill up a truck of cement, I mean, they got a lot of work. And they can be doing. Okay, it's not our, work. Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks for letting us.
Hey, I'm
Um,
here for it.
Dave, have you done any more thinking or?
Yes, I prototyped So I want to share the technology that I think we can, perhaps should use. I'm open to, more discussion around it, but I didn't have everything together to do a little demo. But there's a GIS open source software called QGIS, which is freely available to governments, to students, that non-professional sort of usage license, EULA, I guess. And that allows, I was able to prototype pulling in shapefile data where we could have an interface that was the Hudson Grid. And you can input data associated to each lot parcel, right? So that's where we could begin. I think we talked a little bit about trying to code up what, what we can't get in terms of measurements out of the shapefile itself that we need to start collecting, where we can store notes on assessments, where we can store information around grievances, or however we're gonna handle kind of the sort of administrative process of making the assessments, collecting the payments, and all of that.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Yeah.
We do have a question from Carol Osterink.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to take it now or hold off. It's up to you guys.
We'll take it.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me unmute you, Carol. Hang
Do you
on.
mind?
No, not at all.
Just remember where you're at. Okay, let's see. Trying to unmute her and it's not. Oh, wait, here we go. Go ahead, Carol.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I'm just curious about the nature of the design in the concrete that needs to be either stamped or saw cut. Do we know what that is?
That's the first I heard of it in our last meeting as the reason for the delay with Keller pouring the concrete, that they were wanting clarification on whatever design is supposed to be in the concrete at that location, whether it should be stamped or saw cut. And the determination in the last meeting was that it is not to be stamped. It is to be saw cut. I can certainly ask about the actual design, what it looks
I
like.
mean, I know that intersection fairly well, and I can't think of any design that had been there.
George, you might know, is this the, where you create the gaps?
Stamping is really fertile. It's more like to create paper looks. It's not for big surface areas. Saw cutting means we're not gonna put expansion joints in. It's neater, and you just saw cut your construction joint. Construction joint is just a way to control the cracking. Concrete all cracks. But when you saw cut or put in an expansion joint, it directs the crack so that you don't see it. But stamping is really more of a decorative thing that shows like, oh, I want it to look like papers or whatever. And so it's a little more fussy. And you need a design. And there's,
So it makes sense that they're choosing to saw cut instead of stamp, because it's not about the design.
well, it's two
but-
different things. I mean, saw cutting is just like instead of the mason taking a edger tool and putting in a construction joint. That's what a construction joint does. When you put that in there, that's where the concrete, the hairline stress is from. It's easier and faster and neater because it's a little narrow joint and there's no funny edges where you just saw cut.
Did that answer your question, Carol?
Yes, it does. I was
That's what
actually
you do.
wondering if we were going to put little whales in the sidewalk, welcome.
Ah.
rabbits.
That would be nice. I don't know if we have that much money in the budget to do that.
I'm not for holding up the project for any design.
Right.
No, I wasn't speaking in
Thank you.
favor.
I'm sorry, Dave, so the
Thank
prototype.
you.
Yeah, so I guess what I mean to say, and without having to demo. And we can talk more about the strategy when I demo it, because I think it'll be easier to get when I'm pitching. But I think that we can use that software, it's within the licensing of the software for the city to be able to use that as our way of navigating through the data, but also recording whatever other features we need for that data.
So essentially, it's a database that we're creating
Yes.
to complete this project, to provide the data to,
And then I think we can use it for a lot of our planning processes where we can synthesize some of this data with Google Street View where it exists, or we can synthesize it with our own ad hoc surveying that any one of us has done about areas that are in need of remedy. We can kind of build the way that Ithaca's approached it, a way for us to share what our strategy is, where we're looking to do the work, how we're looking to tackle this, the scale of what we're endeavoring to do. But I also think really around the administration, the fees, measurements, all of that. I need to, I think, do a little more due diligence on if there are any requirements of us around storing that data and how that works with right of use. I think maybe the treasurer is a good place to ask that question, I'm not sure. But I don't want to offend any laws that we have around that, so. All that's to say is let me get together a little presentation, and then see what you guys think about approaching that.
yeah, the question I have is ultimately, where does this belong?
With the city, so I think you're absolutely right to ask that. Where do we install it and manage it? I'm sure we can create ways to do that efficiently off-site, but it should be the city's intellectual property. So whether that sits with the clerk or the treasurer or our own kind of workstation, I don't know. But yeah. But certainly if we do build it that way, then we can embed some of that content in the City of Hudson website, be able to kind of share that level of information.
So this is the database where we could, it's a GIS system.
Yeah.
So we can bring in commonly, open source
Geospatial data.
information. But then this would also be where we would have to sit down and manually enter.
Record the tabular data that is joined to each of those, let's say, lots or parcels. So each parcel would have a set of metadata around it. I think if we can get a good base, then we can kind of think about, okay, how do we want to input this? Where do we want to store it? How do we want to share it? What wrappers do we want to put around it? But I tend to agree with Gary, you're absolutely right. We need a way to be able to track all of this electronically. Otherwise, I think we'll just get overwhelmed.
Yeah, we'll lose it.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, after the demo and all, we can look at it, start discussing where does it belong, and then not ram it down their throats, right?
Yeah.
Get their buy-in,
Yeah.
make sure that the inputs and outputs are cool.
Yeah.
It's open source. So is that an issue anymore today?
No, and I was really trying to go for most cost-effective solution, like Ithaca, for example, they purchased licensing for ArcGIS, which is the Esri sort of standard. It's quite expensive, it's very robust, and you can deliver it online, you can deliver it across your network, you can output in different ways, but it's a lot of money. And QGIS is used by researchers and educators and municipalities all over the place as a kind of alternative to the licensing costs. ArcGIS.
What, Crawford and Associates have something like this already, and would they manage all the
I
data?
went back and forth a little bit with Ryan, and in fact, we were gonna meet, and then I got pulled aside at work and wasn't able to. At the minimum, we'll have some data that I think we could utilize. You know, I think Ryan's hesitation was there would be a lot of data entry, the manual side of all of this. Which is, at some point, that's gonna be a part of this puzzle, but it's not insurmountable. I think we can chunk it out and get it done, so I'll follow up with Ryan on what maybe they have and can share. Over there.
Do we see a time frame on when this database?
I was hoping to have something to demo tonight. I am behind the eight ball on this one, so, I don't wanna overpromise.
So,
Let me pull together a presentation that sets forth what I'm proposing,
okay,
and then we can really get into the weeds, of like, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. I can get whatever sort of legal considerations we might need around that brought into that conversation. And then we can go, no go on the build out, and I don't think that'll be beyond sort of all of the manual data entry. I don't think the build itself would be 100% time consuming.
I'm sorry, Carol, your hand is up, I don't know if
Let's
it's,
hold on first.
okay,
Can we commit, can you commit to that presentation for next month?
Yeah, I'll do that.
for
Yeah.
next month.
Cool.
And then I guess in the meantime, think about all the different features that we want to track at a parcel level. Cause that'll help me kind of think about how we want to build, it, right? Cause I know I'm missing stuff, and I know the more that we build on the front side of this, the better suited we'll be down the road.
Sure.
And we won't have to pivot to new staff.
Okay, backing into this schedule though, when do we again have to provide this data to the assessor? Is it April of next year?
I don't have that information.
Jason was very good at remembering these.
Yeah,
I will say.
It's documented, and
It is
the point is.
Yeah. Someone knows.
And I think the last time we discussed that, it really gave us plenty of time.
Yeah.
Not to say no problem.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, if you can show us a prototype,
Yeah.
that's fantastic next
Yeah.
month, and then, yeah, we go from there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, and then hopefully by next month, we'll be able to figure out where might this best be suited.
Yeah.
If we want their buy-in to it, right?
Yeah.
Or we make a decision that it really is not natural in any department, and therefore we leave it with the project manager. But that brings up the other point that I slipped my mind is that, and I spoke to Ryan about this a little bit the last couple of weeks, is that I wanna know where we stand in our current contract. I don't wanna hear that next week it's over. You know, so I really wanna know
how long we have Crawford and Associates?
as the project manager in the current version, iteration.
Yeah, and that makes a really good point about transitioning some of the knowledge that Jason has to us around that. I think he was handling a lot of those communications.
He's commissioner,
Yeah, he understands.
he was the point person.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and to your point in terms of attributes or whatever you wanna call them. Ed, you were going to begin thinking about the exceptions.
Yes, and I have nothing to give you guys yet, but let me have something ready that follows your presentation. I'd also like to get inserted into meeting with Crawford whenever you're short-handed or need. Because I am not tired, I'm retired, so I have some time and I interface with dozens of design and construction.
Did you want me to set something up outside of one of our meetings? Because I think
That
it'd
would be
be,
helpful,
okay,
that would be helpful, and it's at your convenience, because my time is, all I need is like, if you give me a day's notice, I'm good.
just the two of you or,
Well, we want to keep it because we don't want it to be a quorum.
right.
And so that's why we have been keeping it to two.
No,
And
that's
the
not-
natural two up until this point has been the ADA coordinator and the commission. So I haven't even met with them, you know,
And I think that would be so helpful.
I'm happy to.
Yeah, because then we got,
I mean, Jason's a big loss, and I just
Yeah.
want, I'll step in
that's
and
perfect.
help wherever I can.
great.
Thank you.
so when was the last time you met with Roland? I mean, I had to.
It's been over a month. I mean, we were trying to get, the plan all down and we got the plan and they started, Precision started the work and I've been focused on that. So
Sure.
there was a real need to meet with them, since our last meeting, which was over a month ago.
Okay. Okay.
I wanted to just recognize, you mentioned it earlier, and I didn't note it, the granite curbs of Garland.
We do look.
Okay.
We look very nice.
Louis.
On the front. they
Yeah,
look really sharp.
I agree,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really good.
Yeah,
And I saw them working on it. I mean, it was hand forever.
those are nice chunks of stone.
Yeah.
Happy to
And
see
I think I saw some wasted stone too. you
Yeah.
know?
that. Yeah, it's exciting with the bridge being put in and
All,
that work being done, it's all finally happening.
all too much.
I can't believe it.
And now, below the 100 block, we have National Grid, and Recon there, and they're doing major work. So anyway, okay, yes, by all means, and that'd be great. And in fact, yeah, maybe the next meeting would be good if the two of you went.
Yeah, I do owe Ryan an email, response, I've dropped the ball on that, so yeah, let me touch base, I'm a little constrained meeting during the day in Hudson, so. Let me get out the email.
If you need any help facilitating,
Thank you, Justin,
yeah, let me know.
appreciate that.
When you know your schedule, I can then put the pieces together and coordinate it for you guys.
Appreciate that.
Cool. Is there anything else on the board or from us internally? So, this point I wanted to make, is, when we're talking about the exceptions, we're talking about where, there's the heating, sidewalks, right? We have to think in terms of how do we get those identified? And how do we incorporate those into the system? I'm sorry. I'm jumping two different initiatives in the city. That's more about the parking, I'm sorry. But you have the herringbone stones, et cetera. So we're gonna have to have a conversation with those folks that have anything special. Well, no, even with the heating, in the sidewalks. We need to have a conversation with them in terms of do they want to repair if we have to do something? If they're not going to maintain it, I'm rambling, I know. If someone has a sidewalk that has a heating, that has a heating system under it. And it needs to be, sidewalk needs to be ADA compliant. I think what we've said is that either they repair it or we just go in, make it ADA compliant and disregard the fact that there's heating boilers.
Yeah,
Is there an extensive amount of?
no,
Cause I mean, that's a very expensive system. Glycol.
I have two on my block.
Do you really?
Yeah.
will you
Now,
look
that
at
may
next
be-
block?
On what?
A nice lot.
You wanna live next to the corner, you know, deli? I don't.
I love the
They make great sandwiches.
They do. They have killer sandwiches.
They really do.
Oh my God.
But I
It's one of the hidden gems in Vincent.
total single pure distinctive paving is what we would call that. We had to supply the city with like half a room full of like attic stock. In case something happened, we need to replace it. It was kind of a way to discourage people from doing distinctive paving. I've seen some in this town. You know, whatever you can do to minimize it, not trying to get down on your neighbors that have heated sidewalks, God bless them. But yeah, it's contractually for a sidewalk contractor, they're gonna be like,
It's a big deal.
you know, I've got this, I can't go straight runs, I've got to wait to do the sustainable paving or this heating systems in place. Maybe your data system is gonna help us with the answers.
Yeah, that might be one of the exceptions or attributes.
Right, very,
Yeah, and I know I said this earlier, but I do want to circle back to the Preservation Commission about some of the sidewalks that I think are worthy of their notice. I'm thinking of the brick sidewalk on First between Union and Warren, for instance. I would hate to see that get dug up and destroyed, which,
Although it's not by any means ADA compliant.
no, but the other side is brand new, so.
Yes. Okay.
Do we have a standard phraseology that we're saying to people when they ask, when is the city doing my sidewalks?
No, we don't have an answer.
Yeah, we're
I
in
have no problem,
evaluation, right?
I have no problem saying we don't have a schedule at this point.
I'm doing the DOJ first.
Right,
That's right.
because the
And-
calls are starting to come in,
Are they?
because people are seeing all the work that's happening,
Right.
and they feel like it's looming, and they want to either be prepared, or they want to get on the list. And they want to make a decision for themselves, am I gonna fix my own? Depending on when the city's planning on fixing it, or are we gonna wait for the city? And if they're gonna be waiting a long time, they might want to make the decision to go ahead and fix their own, because they don't want to wait for the city. So I think at some point, hopefully by the end of this year, we can maybe have some sort of picture on,
Dialogue or public meeting.
Yes, I think by the end of the year, we should present a strategy in terms of the time.
Yeah.
And what are the imperatives that we're following? So one can understand, okay, you know, my block on so-and-so is not imperative. You know, it
I
really is about where there's high traffic,
yeah,
you know, the municipal buildings, that's always gonna be the priority,
Right.
you know?
The sidewalk in front of the police station.
Yeah.
Which remains gravel.
Yeah,
that's gonna be taken care of with, with the work that's being done by Crawford and Associates. That's one of,
It's in scope.
it's in the scope of the DOJ that was listed,
It is.
that it has to be taken care of.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
yeah, well, look, everything I mentioned is.
yeah,
is-
so
is-
that's not, we don't have to take care of that, that's gonna
That's
be,
correct.
yeah.
What do you
Separately,
mean?
separately, you know, so we're doing, the first one was, Third and Cherry Alley. On that list, that's anything leading to what they consider a municipal.
Right, so that's the first project.
Right, the police station, that sidewalk, that is part of that overall plan with Crawford and Associates. So I'm saying that we don't need to include that in our, you know, overall sidewalk project, because that's gonna be taken care of.
Yep.
First.
Yep.
Top priority.
But they're not putting an RFP out for
I mean, they would have to, right?
it. Yes,
Right.
or come to us and, see, their focus right now is
The
Cherry
smaller,
and Third, and then one other.
Yes.
Just get this under our belt.
Right.
I get it.
yeah,
And you're saying that, but beyond that.
Eventually,
we need to
that's
Be
good.
looking at.
yes,
Yeah, but is that a higher priority than, say, the streets to the library?
Well, I mean, there's gonna be a ranking, and I think Crawford and Associates spoke with Jason about that, and they came up with a game plan of which areas are gonna be tackled, yes. That's why Third and Cherry Alley was selected first, because it was minimal work, they can get that done relatively quick compared to the other locations that were highlighted by the DOJ, including the health, including, the police station and, places where you vote and, what else?
Does Jason have all this work product?
Jason has a wealth of info, and I hope that he's probably planning on giving it to all of us, but there are things that he knows that I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, there's.
But Crawford and Associates mine.
They should, absolutely, as the project manager, for sure.
Okay.
Well, and maybe, and I don't know, I don't want to overstep, here. Is it? Should Crawford be sort of presenting their work product to us? How do we,
Yes,
with the gap in having a commissioner?
Yes.
Until we get a
I
commissioner.
think they should be at the next meeting.
Yeah, for sure,
You guys agree?
100%.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we need to know where we're at, what we're doing, what we've
Yeah.
been doing.
Yeah, I wanna hear from them before that. I want you to meet with them before.
I would
that.
agree with them before that.
Yeah.
We need a little pressure just to, we'll pay them money.
Yeah.
We should like their product.
Yeah.
They're very,
They're good.
yeah, they're very good. And they're very easy to talk to, and no pressure is needed at all. I mean, you tell them or ask them for something, and they're more than willing to help, and
They've been
great.
very responsive
Yeah.
from my point of view, so.
yeah.
Cool.
Carol, I think, has had her hand.
Okay,
I'm trying, Carol.
Sure, we'll get there. Anything else among the board? Okay, terrific. Sorry, Karen.
That's okay.
We're happy to entertain it.
Please
There
don't
you go.
apologize. I can't figure out how to lower my hand, so my hand has not been up.
Okay, I wanted to double check that. Hang on, let me see if I can. Oh, look at this. There's a button that says lower hands. Hold on.
No questions, Carol, while we have you on the line?
No,
Oh,
I'm
look.
fine for
Hello.
now.
Okay, anybody else questions? Anyone make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, please.
Second?
A second.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining.
And Lynn, are we still
Oh.
online?
Yeah, Linda's here.
Linda, doing minutes is an art, and you do it so well. I really have to, because my entire career, I've been a control freak, doing minutes when I didn't want to do minutes, but I could never give it to somebody else. You are a true professional. Thank you.
Agreed.
That's a serious one.
That is a very.
That is a big compliment in my book.
Well deserved.
Minutes are huge in my book.
Yes. Thank you very much, Linda. Bye, guys. Have a good night.